Good morning, professors and everyone, and thank you for joining the seminar meeting today. And this meeting is held within our research program of Fair Society Studies at Chiba University. And I am one of the members, and I will serve as the moderator today. And today we are very glad to invite Dr. Wong KamBill from Hong Kong to give a talk titled "The Supreme Court in Pre-War Japan, Taishinin's Judicial Behavior in Corruption Cases, Hints for Integration of Judicial Behavior Studies and with Free Society Studies." Dr. Guan got his PhD degree in criminology from the University of Hong Kong and multiple degrees in social sciences, history, international marketing management, and a certificate in Japanese language. He used to serve the immigration department of Hong Kong and multiple degrees and for 30 years. And I have heard a lot about his stories and working experience involving different people and standing at the frontier encountering immigration issues. So yes, and I hope someday in the future we could share he could share with us about his stories and working experience about immigration issues, which is very related to our research field within the research program, and Dr. Wang also used to be a visiting scholar at Stanford for his research program, and he has multiple teaching experience in Hong Kong, Japan, and Zhejiang, China. And he is always my good friend and also my mentor. He has a multiple research interests in international human rights law, Japanese legal history, public order, and social legal studies and others. And recently, he is working on the integration of judicial behavior studies with fair society studies. Now we are co-writing a book with the similar title of today's topic. Although actually I was contributing very little. Before we get started, please allow me to introduce the professors and participants here at the venue. So first, leading professors of research program, Professor Mitsushima of politics, and Professor Liang of economics, and Dr. Zhang of environment politics policies, and our project secretary, Miss Koto. And we are very honored to have many participants online. Also, and I want to mention to Professor Isto. He's right now in Singapore, and he's also one of our leading professors within our research program. And also we have other participants online, and we are very glad to have you here to join us. And okay, next I would like to invite one of the leading professor of research program, Professor Mitsushima, to deliver opening remarks. Professor, please.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming, Professor Wong. Welcome to your seminar today, everybody. My name is Jiro Mizushima. I'm a political scientist, and my main subject is European politics. But at the same time, my two books are translated into Chinese language in the traditional Chinese letters. So I hear that in Hong Kong they are sold. And today we are very happy that we have a chance to welcome Professor Wong. Thank you very much for your visit in Japan and your presentation today. As Steve Fang has explained, at Chiba University, we are engaging in interdisciplinary research on fair society. Our members consist of philosophers of law, political philosophers, economists, and political scientists, and so on. Truly interdisciplinary, multifaceted research project. And therefore, today we are very excited to hear your lecture because your topic is truly interdisciplinary. As you would explain, your research topic should be studied from different fields. And probably we may contribute something to your research. And therefore, I'm expect that in the discussion session, we have different kinds of comments from different disciplines. Thank you for your cooperation. 谢谢. And now I would give you our edited volume. This is edited by Professor Ishido, me, and I, and Professor Masakobashi, and Professor Chang. So this is our own research project achievement. So, 1 point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor. And next, I would like to, so I think Dr. Wang, I think now you may have I think around 60 minutes or 1 hour for your presentation, and we hope we could have at least 30 to 40 minutes for discussion. And participant online, if you have any questions during or after the presentation, you could just write down with the online chat. And that I would collect and organize. Or you could just unmute your mic during the Q&A part. So now, Dr. Wang, the floor is yours, please.
Okay. Good morning. I'm more than happy to present my ideas here.
Good morning, everybody. I'm more than happy to present my ideas here today. I am very nervous now because in front of so many scholars in front of me, I am a small potato in the academic circle. Okay. I study a lot, but I am a master of none. I am jack of all trades, but master of none. I always treat myself as a pig. Why? The IQ of a pig is equivalent to a 3-year-old boy. It stimulates me to study hard. I find fair society is a very interesting topic because many subjects, even MBA or even marketing, can be integrated into fair society study. I shall explain it today. Not only judicial behavior studies. Okay, treat my presentation as a pig's monkey show. Relax, and if you wish, you can laugh at me. Okay, what's this? This is not UFO. This is European Court of Human Rights. In Europe, they use judicial activism to change the human rights culture in Europe. Because of European Court of Human Rights, it inspired me to study judicial behavior. And I found no matter John Locke, John Rawls, or Immanuel Kant, they have one thing in common: the environment for contracting. The environment for contracting. The outcome is constitution. How to activate constitution to change a society. This is the reason why I study judicial behavior. I believe there's a possibility to make use of judicial behavior studies to create a fair society. The problem is, can judicial activism, I shall explain this term later, judicial activism, to find and consolidate common grounds in order to change our society. Okay, like what European Court of Human Rights is now doing. The progress is very slow, but it is changing Europe. On a request for justice and fairness, when we talk about fair society, we always mention freedom, equality, well-being, and justice. But fairness is more important than justice. Most people wrongly regard fairness as subordinate to justice. I believe this is incorrect. I shall explain it later. Okay, will it be a means to redesign society in case I have not joined the European human rights system? Is there any chance for me to change my society into a fair society? Okay, it is not my intention to create welfare capitalism or laissez-faire capitalism. Laissez-faire capitalism is deemed to be failed. Why? After Lehman Brothers, G7 was changed to G20 because there was a black hole of economic loss. United States discovered it was very difficult to fill the black hole of money loss. So they changed G7 to G20. Okay, communism is deemed to be a theory after the downfall of the Soviet Union. Okay, fairness is balancing justice to everybody. Unlike populism or patriotism, it's about a group. Fairness is fairness to everybody in a society. We need cooperation for everybody in a society for the social progress, social development. Everybody is equal share. You have more money than me, but this is not the opposite fair society. Fair society allows somebody is rich, somebody is poor, but the rich should share the rich with the poor, to the advantage of those variable groups. Okay. Judicial behavior, we need judicial behavior for equity. The term equity here is common law concept, not the concept of equity theory in the book of John Rawls. In a theory of justice, John Rawls also used the term equity. But the concept of equity in John Rawls' theory is about the free contracting environment. In order to arrive some principles, everybody agree, so we cooperate in harmony. We share the benefits of social development. But this equity is common law concept. In common law, equity is the backbone of the common law jurisprudence. When I have a review of the anti-corruption law in Japan since the Nihon Shoki, I also find Japanese law also has equity. This is the Japanese term of dori. Okay. Judicial behavior, we need judicial behavior for equity in order to ensure and promote fairness. For example, health equity, housing equity. Okay, why I just mentioned fairness is more important than justice. I give everybody here a pair of Nike shoes. The size is 40. Okay, this is fair. This is justice. This is justice, but it makes no sense because the foot of everybody is different. Okay, you may say, you are a prick, Bill. You give everybody a pair of shoes of size of 40. Okay. I ask one question: can money actualize your freedom? If a person who have not read something about fair society, he or she may answer, well, money is money. I'm poor, so I cannot have well-being. Is there any relationship between freedom and well-being? In fact, money is freedom. In fact, money is freedom. Well-being, freedom, and equality are not separable. We cannot separate each other. Give you an example. Okay, here. I have freedom to go to Hong Kong, right? Okay, I have a passport. Well, I can leave Japan tonight. I shall go to Bangkok, via Kansai Airport. This is why I dress in holiday mood. Okay, I have freedom. In case I have no money to buy air ticket, can I actualize my freedom? The answer is no. Okay, well-being, money is important. This is why we have to ensure a fair distribution of wealth. Okay, in a society, we talk about power. government power should ensure the equity for social welfare law, how to enforce it. Because social welfare law is a redistribution of wealth. We do not trust the theory of Hayek, a free society, a free economy, because Hayek, Hayek, believes no market is spontaneous order, but market itself does not have any objective. Market is existing in a system. Do we allow uneven distribution of wealth in fair society? Yes, we allow. I just mentioned we allow. In theory, we have Pareto principle. Okay, some people, they are more clever, like the scholars who are now sitting in front of me. They are far more clever. Okay, they make 20% effort, but make 80% results. Okay, it's worthwhile to give them more money. The problem is we have to take care of those poor people. A beggar, Kochiki, is not only begging for money, he is also begging for freedom. Without money, he cannot actualize his freedom. No freedom, so fair society cannot be achieved. Okay, why? I try to link judicial behavior studies with fair society study. Because judicial branch is for interpretation of law, legal reasoning. Remember, we only study in law school. When I was in law school, we only studied the court ruling, the rationale for court for this ruling. Do you know the background of all those Supreme Court justices in the U.S. Constitutional Court, U.S. Supreme Court? We don't know. They have different socialization. They have their own ideology. Pay attention to newspaper. Whenever a new U.S. justice of Supreme Court is elected, a lot of arguments because U.S. citizens worry about their ideology. In court judgment, we cannot find how they think before they write down this court judgment. Judicial behavior is trying to find out what is existing in their mind. Originally, the judicial behavior study is a branch of political science. The early judicial behavior research is in 1940s. A political science of Harvard discovered a very interesting thing. Why some Supreme Court justice of U.S. vote very politically? They have a very strong political tendency to vote for or against something. Okay. They were not only following the law, but were also motivated by their own ideological preferences and other factors, unknown factors. This is the reason why we conduct the first research on judicial behavior. Okay. Judicial behavior is now a developing academic field. I do not want to say this is in the truth, because the nature is very multidisciplinary. Political science allowed joined by economists, psychologists, historians, legal academics, and even management studies. I explain why I mention management studies here. For example, I find overlapping areas between strategic management in MBA and strategic judicial behavior studies. In judicial behavior studies, they have many models. Strategic management, they have, what should I say? You see the books, the strategic analysis of judicial behavior on the right-hand side of this PowerPoint. One research discovered some U.S. judges, their ruling is a strategy to achieve something. This is not only to find this person guilty or find this person not guilty. because he wants to have a strategy to achieve an objective, including his own personal objective. For example, in one research, the researcher discovered the judge want to have promotion. So he formulated a strategy through his court ruling in order to get promotion. In another research, a researcher tried to have newspaper clipping on a judge for 10 years and discovered this judge, whenever his contract was near expiry, he avoids judgments on some very sensitive subjects, just like abortion, because he delayed such judgments until he got a new contract. Okay, I shall return to this PowerPoint later, the right-hand side, because this is one of the most important PowerPoint. I also find judicial behavior studies has overlapping area with organizational behavior studies in MBA, because two subjects are conducting research on the organizational culture, working culture, external, internal, how they make such decisions. In judicial behavior studies, the final answer is how the judges make their judicial decisions. The judicial decisions are more than just court judgments. There are something behind. Okay. I just mentioned in judicial behavior studies, there are many models. In organizational behavior studies, you can find similar academic phenomena, many models, orthopedic model, custodial model, supportive model, collegial model, system model. Okay. In my own opinion, fair society studies should have sustainability because the society is changing. Now we have a new developing subject in fair society studies, AI fairness. How can we ensure AI is fairness? AI is having fairness to everybody because we make decisions on the basis of information. If AI gives us unfair information, the outcome will be very dangerous. Okay, how to ensure it? In judicial behavior, we also find the interface between technology and judicial behavior. Okay. How can we ensure no bias in AI? Bias will lead to discrimination. Discrimination apparently is against the equality. Not only equality, but also dignity. Because when we talk about discrimination against somebody, the hidden agenda behind it is you harm the dignity of another person. Okay. Fairness in AI has a very close relationship to social welfare being. If you allot money under social welfare law, it will seriously and adversely affect the redistribution of wealth. I just mentioned a beggar is only begging for money. He is begging for freedom. Without money, he cannot actualize his freedom to have a meal at Magia, for example. Okay. Fairness reduces bias, but inclusivity is designed for all. We need fair society to have a design for all. It means the outcome of AI should be inclusive of everybody in society. Ensure AI is fair to everybody in society. Okay. Okay. Now we go back to, I just complete the importance of judicial behavior, just an introduction. Now we proceed further. Is judicial behavior that simple? If judicial behavior nowadays is a semi-unexploited academic field, somebody tried to develop it into quantitative number, try to use number for the analysis of it. But number itself is meaningless. Number leads interpretation. So I personally do not like quantitative approach. Okay, in judicial behavior, I just mentioned, there are many models. The three most common model is attitudinal model, strategic model, and legal model. It depends on the autonomy. Autonomy does not mean person, okay? Autonomy, because in fair society, we always mention personal autonomy to decide my style of living. But this is not, this is talk about the court. Okay. Judicial activism. The contradistinction to judicial activism is judicial restraint. When you read the judgments of European Court of Human Rights, you find a lot of judicial activism. The judicial behavior pattern is always introducing something new into Europe. Try to use court ruling to change European society. The pattern is very clear. Judicial restraint is different. The court is unwilling to change society. I follow the same ruling. I have not done something and I have not done anything wrong. You know, my superior, the upper court will not punish me. Give you a Japanese example. Tendo Shigemichi. Tendo Shigemichi is famous outside Japan. I think he is the most famous Japanese jurisprudential scholar in this field. Well, he is a typical example of judicial behavior, of judicial activism. I give you an example here. Okay. He raised objection to death penalty. Openly state, I raised objection. Because a judge is not supposed to say that to society. Because, you know, the defendant can attack you. Okay, or even the prosecutor can attack you. But he is judicial activism. He tried to change Japanese judiciary. He passed away. You know, 12 years ago, he passed away. This is the book review of his book in English. I first read his book in Hong Kong U Library, you know, English. Okay. But according to the UN Human Rights Commission, death penalty is not against human rights law. But that road, because everybody waiting for death. So in the morning, they call me up to have capital punishment. Okay, this is against human rights. Death penalty itself is not against human rights. So, this is his most famous judicial activism in order to change Japanese judicial behavior. The Kansai airport case. According to law, nothing wrong. The evening flight. But to those people who are living in the vicinity of Kansai airport, how can you sleep? He supports the minority group. This is exactly identical to the approach of John Rawls in his book, A Theory of Justice. Everybody should be fair. The society should treat everybody fairly. Okay? And the most important is that judgment should be supported by national, not only a small group of people. When we talk about fair society, the spirit of fairness is not new, in fact. You know, World Fair Play Day, 6th of September. The origin of it is from Olympics. Okay. In case we want to have optimum effect of judicial behavior, we need coordination between judicial behavior and legislative behavior. But legislative behavior is outside today's topic. Culture. Okay. John Rawls always say, you know, we need a multicultural society because we respect each culture. Okay, culture influences thinking. We think before you do. If you do before you think, it means you have to see a psychology. Something wrong with your brain. Okay. Mainstream culture, legal culture. We do not know the legal culture in the mind of every judge. We can only sense it from the judgment. This is why one way to discover judicial behavior is check the terms used by them in each judgment. Very surprising. I found one judgment of Taishinin. The judge used the term "ili," Liang. He used "ili." You are in breach of "ili." This is why I have to punish you. This is a very moralistic approach. This is the overlapping area between the mainstream culture and legal value in judicial behavior. Okay. See, judicial activism to integrate values of a society is very important. Capitalism makes people unequally rich. Why, when communism tries to make people unequally poor? So we have to find another way. This is my Britain's book, The Third Way. The third way is 90 fair society. In fact, fair society, marketing force is trying to change fair society. We go to Starbucks, we have fair trade coffee. Okay. Okay, judicial behavior, legislative behavior plus integrate in international human rights law. Is this a shortcut to fair society? It seems this is 90 because according to the UN Human Development Index, Denmark, Sweden, Holland, Switzerland, they have very high GPA per capita, far better than the US. Okay, and they have a very good social welfare system for redistribution of wealth. Okay, we are born free and equal. Okay, this we call it market drive social justice of fair trade coffee. Market can be bad. Another example is Nike. In the 1990s, US media report Nike, the subcontractors, OEM, employ child labor. You know the cost of one basketball, Nike basketball in Pakistan, $1 because they employ child labor. In Indonesia, the same. So they force Nike, you have to eliminate child labor or slave labor from your production line. This is market drive social justice. Okay, business studies also change. For example, business value, social value. A business can be set up to introduce share value to society. Okay, we have social enterprise, but fair society the idea seems a little bit remote, not in our daily lives. In case we integrate into our daily lives, very easy to influence the judiciary. Okay, Michael Porter. This is not the movie Michael Porter. He's a professor of Harvard. Okay, he introduced shared value. Business should introduce, value through their business, just like market drive justice. Okay, the purpose of corporation, not only profitability, but they drive the next wave of innovation and productivity growth in the global value with some values, not only money. Okay, social value, societal value, economic value. We need share value. We can introduce it. We can introduce the concept of fair society, the first way, through shared value. Shortcut for shared value, in my own opinion, is judicial behavior of Supreme Court, judicial activism, loosely interpret, expensive interpretation, and apply Constitution. Why I emphasize Constitution? John Law, Immanuel Kant, John Ross, they also emphasize Constitution because the reason is very clear. Constitution is the mother of all laws. All laws should follow it. Just like when you read the court judgments of homosexuality, same-sex marriage in Japan, some courts agree, some courts disagree, because their mind says the judges' ideology different. Okay, we do not want judicial restraint. We want to introduce fair society into the mainstream culture and mutually to the mutual benefits of everybody. See, legal value in judicial behavior can be changed, thereby leading to social change and also change in legislative behavior. For example, same-sex marriage, another term for it is civil union. Okay, and one day, but that penalty in Islam is very difficult to change because of religion. It's written in Quran. If you do something, they cut your hand off. Okay, or homosexuality, well, that penalty. Okay. So you see, we use constitution. What makes a fair society? We can make use of constitution. Try to change the mind of Supreme Court. In case mainstream culture has a very strong outcry to change something, support by national. Usually, according to research, Supreme Court judge will follow. But sometimes they follow quickly, sometimes they follow very slowly. Okay. Consolidate the legal consciousness, because we cannot expect everybody in a society, well, please go to school, study law, but change their legal consciousness possibly. Okay. Binding junior court in case a Supreme Court ruling, the junior court has to follow. The whole society has to follow, because this is formal social control. This is not the leading job. This is formal social control. You have to follow the value of fair society. Okay, mutual reinforcement, mainstream culture, judicial culture, mutual reinforcement. This is why we need sustainability, long-term development. If you trust, people must believe that justice is fair and equally applied to all. How to convince them? This is a very long-term development. Maybe we introduce fair society studies into first-year syllabus of university students. In fact, I discovered London School of Economics is offering a course, a semester course of fair society for 15 weeks. Okay, in Nazi term, we call it the local judicial review. In case fair society is the mainstream culture, the judge can conduct judicial review of the existing law. Before Pacific War, Taishinin did not have the power of judicial review. After the law reform during the occupation period, today's Japanese Supreme Court has power for judicial review. This law is unfair to today's society. We need change. I do not like Jeremy Bentham. Well, his idea is outdated. The greatest happiness to the greatest number is the foundation of morals and legislation. Fair society means fairness to everybody, ensure mutual cooperation in harmony. So, even in the human rights law, we have to take care of the minority group. For example, if you read the book written by the American scholars before 1970s, they treat Japanese society as a society in harmony. But after 1980s, Japanese government tried convention against discrimination. They discovered one thing. US government signed the whole convention against discrimination except for 5 because of Buraku, the Japanese caste system. The Buraku. issue and modern Japan. Okay, I shall come back later. Okay. Judicial behavior, how do judges make decisions? There are many models. Legal model just follow the same rule. The most common is attitudinal model. Why this judge had this attitude or against something? Okay. Rational choice model. This is a very economic model. Everybody is a rational consumer. Everybody has rationality. The same, you find it in John Rawls' book, A Theory of Justice. Everybody is rational to make contract out in order to arrive some principles. Okay, see the right-hand side. No matter what model, policy outcome, okay, distinctive patterns, you see political and wealth development, political outcomes. It means no matter what judicial behavior, no matter what pattern, what model, the outcome is affecting policy. Why? Because court does not have power to enforce its ruling. It depends on the government to enforce its ruling. In fact, court is a policy maker. Most people overlook. Court is powerless to enforce its judgment. Okay. See the third one, principal agent hierarchical models. High court can review the decision of junior courts. It means once the Supreme Court makes a judgment, junior court have no say. You have to follow. This is why I mentioned shortcut for quick achievement of fair society is 90 constitutional court case. Before constitutional court case, we have to integrate fair society values into the mainstream society. Okay. Judicial behavior can also rectify some social unfairness. For example, in the US, our research discovered bad Americans, they have more chances to be convicted of murder, sexual assault, and drug-related offenses. Okay. I mentioned, I personally, I do not like quantitative research method for fair society and judicial behavior society. For example, if the poverty line, I'm poor, then demarcation, the poverty line is 10,000 yen. I have 10,001 yen. Does it mean I am not poor? This is the pitfall of quantitative research. You have to be very careful. Okay. Another typical judicial behavior pattern, very strange to people outside Japan. Why? Wrongful conviction again, and again. Hakamada case is very famous in Hong Kong, and you may say very low to risk. How can you detain a person for 60 days, 16 years? And I am sorry, I give you 10,000 yen for each day. You have wrongly incarceration. Okay, this is judicial behavior. This judicial behavior is very, very strange. And in 2005, I talked about it, not Hakamada case, with a retired Japanese prosecutor, a very senior one. He was also a visiting scholar in Stanford. He retired. So I talked about him, but he advised me not to reveal his name. Why? The conviction rate is so high. And from time to time, wrongful conviction happens. Japanese judges tend to trust prosecutor. We can trace the origin of this organizational culture. I just mentioned overlapping area between organizational behavior in business studies and organizational behavior in judicial behavior studies. We can trace it back to the Meiji era. Originally, court, other than Taishinin, judiciary, and prosecution, were under Minister of Justice, the same department overlapping. So they have similar working culture. Okay, this is a historical institutionalist model. Okay, they just follow the practice. This one, very famous in Hong Kong. Sayama Chicken. We believe this guy is innocent. He did not know how to write kanji. Very poor education, but he had been accused of murder. Okay, because one reason we believe he is a Burakumi. And the most serious, we call it deviant judicial behavior of Japan is the trust in self-written confession. I'm wrong, yesterday I killed him. No. But you do not know whether the prosecutor had used force. Technology, judicial behavior also has interface with technology. Ashikaga, he was convicted by DNA. He was acquitted by DNA. It looks very absurd, to people outside Japan. What happened? Okay, because the structural problem, historical institutionalist model, traditionally we believe in self-conviction. So we trust self-conviction. Okay, this one also. This is the whole criminal justice culture. Okay, institutionalist, this is what the model of Robert Merton. We see the left-hand side. You know why? So many wrongful conviction cases, because conformity, okay, we have done this way for many years. Just conform to it. Nobody will bring me. Okay, mutualism, it is just a mutual. I just follow. Very natural. Nobody will bring me. Upper court will not bring me. Okay. The problem is who judges the judge who judges wrong. This is happening in Japan. Somebody is thinking about the formation of social groups. Change your judicial behavior. And it did happen because in Japan, there's no just system now. In case fair society is the mainstream culture, adjustment is against it. So we can exert pressure through mass media or some social groups. Okay, see this one. Mainstream culture, political culture, academic culture, business culture, public administration culture. My idea is introducing fair society studies into first year introduction to college course. All this culture can exert pressure on legal culture. The second layer. The top is culture, mainstream culture. Okay. It will interact with legal culture. Legal culture will have direct impact on judicial culture during their decision making. And you see the organizations and organizational culture. It means court or diet, kokai. Okay, institution. If it has formal or informal, maybe you form a social group, to counter attack, those anti-fair society values. Okay. We need ideas, norms, see the layer at the bottom. Ideas, norms, rules, values, beliefs. If all these are integrated, if all these about fair societies are integrated into mainstream culture, according to the diary of Van Gogh, his diary was published. Court judgment should be supported by national. Mainstream culture means the court should change in order to be consistent with the outcry of nationals, just like homosexuality. 300 years ago in Europe, if Bill is gay, Bill is not a gay. Bill is a gay. They will burn me to death. Today, I can go to New Zealand for a civil union, get married, and come back to Hong Kong and ask Hong Kong government, in case of civil servant, to give me social benefits. The same. Society change. I just mentioned somebody in Japan is monitoring judicial behavior. See this Innocent Project Japan, this is a pressure group on a mission to work a society without wrongful convictions. In case of fair society, can we do the same? Fair Society Association or something like that. LSE already has a semester course, 15 weeks for fair society, a full course. Okay, I think most Japanese universities could do it at least at the first year level to develop their ideas, norms, rules, values, beliefs. The introduction is very clear. Capitalism, laissez-faire capitalism is poor. Communism, sayonara. What should we do? What should we do at this moment? The first one who advocates something new is Britain's, the third way. Well, communism, no good. Okay, some communism, if we want to achieve communism, it is genocide according to experience in Cambodia. Okay. Okay. The path for judicial behavior and fair society, the relationship, the mutual reinforcement. And at this PowerPoint, now I proceed to Taishinin. Why I take Taishinin? Because in judicial behavior, we have a historical institutionalist model. Okay, today's Japanese Supreme Court, because Japan's experience is different, because America introduced American common law system, introduced it to change Japanese judiciary during the occupation period. I just mentioned, Taishinin have no power for judicial review. Now it has. Okay, this is Taishinin. Okay, the middle one, a very nice building. But it was totally destroyed in 1923. The Kanto earthquake. Maybe an earthquake will affect Japan in the coming few years. I don't know. This is Taishinin. Okay, the interior, the courtroom of Taishinin. Pay attention to the judges. Okay, 7 judges. Judicial behavior, pay attention to the selection of justice, their background. Next time, when an appointment of U.S. judges to U.S. Supreme Court, pay attention to the selection process. A lot of arguments in Kokai. Traditionally, females excluded from judiciary. Japanese judges in the 1930s, they just not Western, not traditional, very strange. Okay, in the history of Taishinin, there was no female justice. This is the mainstream culture. I just mentioned, judiciary always reflects mainstream culture. No female judge. Okay, but a very strange discovery. All Taishinin judges, they have a very special family background. They were born in samurai families, not farmer. So their socialization, very strict discipline. You may say Confucian, but I do not believe in Confucianism. This is the first female judge. You have to wait until post-war law reform. I just mentioned attitudinal model. Mibuchi urged the Japanese government to set up necessary measures to assist and support the A-bomb victims. Because of the limitation of time, I do not go through the whole, because it is a long, you say this is a paragraph. But a female judge, gender, also has impact on judicial behavior, especially the issues of abortion or domestic violence. My husband beat me last night. The feeling, the reaction of a male judge is different from a female judge. Okay, abortion totally man, a male judge cannot send it. Okay, this one very special. Pay attention to whether the behavioral pattern of ICC, International Criminal Court, will be changed in the coming few years. In fact, already changed. A lot of court orders, different from the time before. Okay. See the wording. Japanese judges in ICC, a good subject for judicial behavior research plus judge in global fair society. Now we have a special term, global justice. Okay. No matter justice or fairness, this is for the promotion of common good, common everybody. This is, as I mentioned at the beginning of today's presentation, fair society. That is the main difference from populism or patriotism here. Fair society is addressing everybody, not only a group. Okay. Fairness versus, I just skip through this here. Okay. Strategic model. So I mentioned some judges use judicial behavior, use the judicial speaking process in order to achieve something. Give you an example. Do you know this lady? Abesada. Abesada is a positive. When I conduct research on Taishinin's court ruling, very, very interesting. Taishinin ruling of gender injustice. If I owe Steve 10,000 yen, I voluntarily work as a positive in order to settle the debt. I sign an IOU. I pay money back to you by working as a positive. It was legal, according to Taishinin. It was legal. The prosecution is illegal. But I use prostitution. I work as a positive to settle debt. This is legal. So this judicial behavior is very strange. This is self-contradictory. So I try to solve this puzzle. Why? I try to trace the arguments in Japanese diet Kokai. Because some Japanese interest groups, they have strong interest in prostitution as an unavoidable evil. It's just a business and entertainment. Some raise objection because of underage girls. So that means they legalize prostitution by another way. They have to, this is a strategy to balance two interest groups. You want to criminalize prostitution. You want to make money from institution. Now, I set a balance. Law is law. Prostitution is illegal in law, but I make a balance. If you work as a prostitution in order to settle the debt, okay. In case I do not pay money back to Wong, Wong can approach the core bank in that area to seek assistance to enforce the contract. So it was very, very strange. But this is main culture. This is main culture. Taishinin followed the main culture. Although it was self-contradictory. This is not although the case of Abesada is not a corruption case. Okay. Sometimes morality, they enforce morality in our tentative book. Two teachers, yes, two teachers in Fukuoka accept banquet bride of very low value. I checked the price of each meal. It was cheaper than 22 eggs. Very cheap. Just like you treat me McDonald's. Okay. Taishinin, you found guilty. No way to appeal. Because you are teacher. You are teacher. You breach the social trust. You are teacher. You should set a model. This is enforcement of morality. Because mainstream morality can affect judicial behavior. Another problem is in fair society studies, we always talk about power. The power in case teaching in a government high school. The power is from emperor. So, because according to Lagalatia, Japan is a vertical society. Taishinin had to protect the purity of power. Okay, breach of social trust. This is a criminal breach of social trust. Although you treat me a meal at McDonald's, you will find guilty, although you appeal to the final court of appeal. Okay. Can you trust judiciary? Sometimes it's not. In the United States, one should, after the release of file, we believe we should. This is outside today's discussion. We found one very interesting phenomenon in pre-war Japan. Article 23 is no law, no crime, and no punishment. Well, Taishinin, as long as this requirement is met, the appeal should be refused, just like illegal parking. They do not care your intention. As long as you have illegal parking, you have to pay the fixed penalty ticket. Because the power relationship in pre-war Japan is state polity, kokutai. And further delegate this power to all Japanese civil servants. You cannot appeal it. No matter 22 eggs, the value is very low. Okay, this is Tokyo City Assembly. Okay, this is Nihonbashi Fish Market. After Canton of Credit was removed to Chijiki. Okay, this is other stages. This railway company, in this case, Keisei Uelokai. Okay. In these cases, we Taishinin very strict because I was a Tokyo City Assembly member. After the expiry of term, I have no status, no position in Tokyo City Assembly. I was still far. I accept money after my official position in Tokyo City Assembly. Taishinin also refused the appeal. So very strict, very, very strict. In common law jurisdiction, we find it very, very strict. We use the term ultra virus. I did not have this authority. Because the society recognized you, previously you have this status, you have to behave yourself in Japanese society. Okay. The most obvious example is in Chapter 7, before Second World War. Before occupational period, Japanese police was divided into judicial police and administrative police. And judicial police had no power to do the job of administrative police and vice versa. Okay. Taishinin is very strict. No matter you have judicial police or administrative police, you have one common duty, public order. Although this is not specified, what kind of power you have. You have the status of police, so you should behave yourself. This is a very moralistic for the protection of power, government power. Okay, the same. This is a sex bride. the sex by one police constable in Osaka had sex and bang quick fire. But he had no power to do anything in favor of the prostitution there. He was convicted. As long as you are a police, and very surprising, we find, because language discourse is a way for judicial behavior research, we find some wordings are exactly identical to Emperor's imperial script. It sounds like the court is speaking on behalf of the emperor. Okay, this is a strict liability code. Okay, now we reserve time for the discussion.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Dr. So I would like to invite
So next, I would like to invite Professor Mizushima to initiate the discussion. So, Professor, please.
It means that your presentation is finished, right? Or you will continue the rest of your presentation. Perfect. You have still 30 pages.
Because no, I don't think I shall be able to finish all the PowerPoints.
Okay.
So I reserve some in order to support my answer to your questions or questions online.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Wong, for your insightful and comprehensive presentation. Your lecture here today would make a great contribution to enrich our understanding of fair society. And at the same time, I was a little bit shocked because you told us rightly that the society under Pol Pot regime in Cambodia was a kind of idea, but everyone
Equally poor.
equally poor and equally miserable.
Yeah.
But in one sense, it is fair. And it is also encouraging for us that you propose that we would make university curriculum which has some studies on fair society. So quite insightful, and probably we would make joint curriculum for fair society in the future. Anyway, now I would like to make a comment on your presentation, especially about judicial activism and restraint. The example about European Court of Human Rights is quite interesting. I would like to make a comment about the independence of judiciary. It is the autonomy of judicial power. It is widely said and agreed that the independence of judiciary is quite essential for the healthy working of judicial power. If judicial power is totally dependent on the political power, they would not be able to judge differently from political orientation of the governing powers, governing parties, or other strong political forces. So the independence of judiciary is quite important. It is true. However, on the other hand, the autonomy of judiciary would have a negative aspect. And especially in the judicial system in Japan, I think we can see the negative side of the independence of judicial power. It is a kind of, in my view, they have some kind of institutional conservatism. And it is, and that institutional conservatism is protected by their independence. It does not mean that they are politically conservatives, but it means that they are institutionally conservative. They are, in many cases, inward-looking within the bureaucratic system, and in general, they are quite reluctant to correct the errors of past judgments, like Hakamada case. It took too many years to correct the error, incredibly. But it was made possible because of the independence of their judicial power. So no political power can order, oh, you have to correct the Hakamada case. Nobody cannot do that. Nobody can do that. So it took too many years. Oh, so and they are, in general, not so enthusiastic to adapt to the new trends in society and economy, as you pointed out. So it is quite contrary to the attitudes, judicial activism, as you have shown, like European Court of Human Rights. They are quite enthusiastic to make change the society in Europe. But in Japan, the Japanese judicial system is not so enthusiastic to change Japanese society. And I thought their nature inward-looking within the bureaucratic system. In Japan, the judges don't like to make unique judgments, which would be different from the prevailing view in the judiciary system. Partly because they are thinking of their promotion, or partly because they want to conform to the general trends within the bureaucracy. I cannot see the inside of their thinking, but it seems they are quite institutional, conservative. So, and this is not the result of the political pressure from outside, just because they are independent. And one background we have to see is that in Japanese judicial system, the judges are appointed internally, except in Supreme Court. So if they want promotion, they have to follow other precedents. And even in the Supreme Court, the appointment of judges are practically allocated to a couple of categories, from lawyers, from judges, or from academics. But it is not written. However, it is practically a rule. So it means that other new people from the established world cannot enter the Supreme Court. So no YouTuber, even if he or she has many legal knowledges, he or she can't enter the world of the judges. So, seen from this uniqueness in Japanese judiciary, it can be argued that Japanese judicial power had achieved high autonomy And theoretically, the independence of judiciary is quite important. However, in reality, they are working negatively against the introducing new trends or correcting past errors. So, in that sense, in the current world, everything is changing, and I'm quite afraid that the judicial system in Japan would be quite negative because they cannot introduce new trends into their rulings. They are quite conservative. So more discrepancies between the rulings and the realities of the new society. So anyway, in conclusion, the independence of judiciary is not always a good thing. So what do you think about it?
Personally, I believe in the perspective of judicial behavior studies, this is a historical institutionalist model.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in my presentation, cultural control is an informal social control. This is criminology thinking.
Yeah.
Just like Giri Ninja in Japanese culture. It was very strict and even stricter than written law.
Yeah.
Okay. In case the ideas, the values, the beliefs, the norms of fair society can be a part of the mainstream culture, I believe Japanese judiciary or Japanese diet, the legislative behavior may have interaction with it. But I am very impolite to say that Japan is a very slow follower, just like the anti-discrimination convention.
Yes.
Very slow. You know, it waited until 1980s. They paid attention to the Urakumin Monda. It means this is why I mentioned should we introduce fair society studies into first year university syllabus. This is doing in LSE, London School of Economics. In Chinese University of Hong Kong, a professor named Dr. Zhao also taught something like it, but his approach is leftist fair society, leftist liberalism, not rightist liberalism. Now he is now teaching in Taiwan, I think, because of the change of Hong Kong society. Okay. In case, just imagine, the concept of fair society is like Giri-Ninja. Court has to follow, I think. Just like what I read in Taishinin's judgment. Because Mr. XY said, you are in breach of Giri. So I convict you. I refuse you to. Because mainstream culture, judicial culture, overlapping. Even the representative in Japanese Kokai, they have to react to core isiki, legal consciousness. I mentioned, it's still, unreasonable to force everybody to study law, as long as they have the legal consciousness of the importance of fair society as the third way. Okay, we do not want to have laissez-faire capitalism. We do not want to have communism. Okay, we want to try something to be fair to everybody, to share the fruit of economic development, social development. Well, everybody can have cooperation for social development in harmony. Everybody can live his or her own style of living. This is very important and not unrealistic. This is happening in Sweden, Denmark, Holland, Switzerland. You know, most people have a wrong concept. US is the best. US is not the best. You know, the per capita GPA is lower, far lower than Denmark. we you know, when I read it, I
say that this is
democratic constitutional countries. Okay. Maybe these countries are now developing very slowly
to work
a
fair
fair society.
society.
They
They
have
have
a
a
good
good
redistribution
redistribution
of
of
wealth
wealth
through
through
social
social
welfare
welfare
system.
system.
Most
Most
people
people
have
have
a
a
wrong
wrong
concept.
concept.
Social welfare makes
people
people become
become
lazy.
lazy.
Not the
The
case in
case in
Denmark, not the case in Switzerland.
Switzerland.
They have
They have
very
very
high
high
economic
economic
growth,
growth,
very
very
stable,
stable,
everybody
everybody
happy.
happy.
So it depends on culture, the mindset of people, whether they are willing to cooperate. We
We
cannot say that John Rawls is wrong. John Rawls is utopian. No, this is happening. When I was in Switzerland, when we see Denmark, the nationals very happy. You know, far better than United States. See what is happening in LA. So I believe, you know, Japan is very special. Japan is very once a behavior becomes a usual, Japanese tend not to follow, but not to have new thing to replace it. Last week I read a book about Japanese CEO. Why, you know, Japan had slow economic development in the past 3 decades, because the society developed very rapidly, you know, internet, globalization. Well, a lot of CEOs, because of the seniority system, you know, step by step, you know, 小心多用. Okay, well, to them, internet may be a new thing, you know, not like 20-some, you know, the youngsters in 20-something. Well, they are very quick to react to internet, you know, globalization, AI. Their mindset is very slow to change. Oh, this is okay. I have done it in the past 3 decades. I follow it. We call it inertia and willingness to change. When this is good yesterday, why don't we continue? You know, not that innovative, not that innovative. You know, even when I was a college student, I love Sony. You know, when I see the documentary about the history of Sony, one word very impressive: we sell time. We did not care, you know, how the consumers react. You cannot do that. I know the product is good, but you know, in India, Japanese is a bit slow to react to globalization, especially English, internationalization of academic studies in the US. Japanese universities. Maybe you say this is biased because, you know, the ranking to a large extent they calculate internationalization is English. So to a certain extent, you know, this is very unfair because Japan universities have their own system of ranking. It's a different, you know. It doesn't mean their knowledge level is low. You know, but nowadays, just like Lee Kuan Yew, the late Prime Minister of Singapore, when he was alive, he mentioned one word. Those British gave us one excellent thing. which is English. Not English, not English. This is English. Because of English, they could be very rapidly in international trade to jump on the wagon of globalization because of internet, change everything. I missed one because of time. I have to reserve the time for this discussion. Because I want to say, law is always unclear. During legislation, for example, in the criminal law of Hong Kong, you find always through the law you find reasonable and reasonableness. What is reasonable? What is unreasonable? No definition. It gives the power to the judge. You interpret it according to equity. Just like when I have a review of the anti-corruption law in Japanese history in the past 1,500 years, the same, it did not fix this is vital, this is not vital, this is vital, this is not vital. The judge will make decision according to Dory Nietzsche, you. Okay, you make decision. I give you the interpretation power according to the circumstances. But Japanese judge, I mean, in Sayama Tiket, in the Nakamada case, very unyielding. Just like you mentioned, you have judicial activism. It was very impressive for the judge in the final appeal of Asikawa case, because we saw it on Hong Kong TV. The prosecutor said that we will appeal. The judge, very, very surprising. Please do not appeal. You fabricate evidence. Because this is open warning and a very serious accusation against the integrity of prosecutor. You fabricate the jacket of blood against Nakamada, but you want to appeal. What does it mean? You are challenging criminal justice. You are challenging the court system. You may say that this is a very serious criminal offense. Justice. This is a criminal charge. So, come on, Japanese law. Maybe this is a Japanese character because of community. Very slow to change, very slow to react. For example, we believe Japanese companies was slow to jump on the wagon for smartphone because at the beginning of the smartphone market, they developed their system. Some people in Hong Kong like Japanese products. They came to Japan to buy a smartphone and took it to Hong Kong and asked someone to change the Hong Kong system. They lost the market. They lost the global market. Where is the difference? We do it the Japanese way, but nowadays, this is globalization. This is a global village. We have a trend global justice. So, I personally, I love Japanese culture, but nowadays, we have to think locally, act locally. Think globally, act locally is not my slogan. This is the slogan of the advertisement of Hong Kong Bank. Hong Kong Bank, I think years ago used the slogan. We think locally, act locally in this each market. Okay, this is exactly, John Law's approach. Multicultural. We respect multiculturalism, but at the same time, we have our own principle. Okay, we have a free contract system. Different cultures agree on some principles for the share of the good of social development. This is the way. Japan was, I personally like Japanese movies. In the 1960s, I saw that a lot of Japanese movies. Because through these movies, I observed Japanese society. the
ranking,
social
social
ranking,
especially
especially
Java.
Yeah, it's very, very special, not only for entertainment, but to
To appreciation of Japanese culture. See it as a leading image of Japanese society.
So, yeah, okay. So, Professor, how about?
First, I'd like to say thank you so much for a wonderful presentation today. So, my understanding is environmental economics, and we have some collaboration with my research studies. That's really good, especially you talk about the juridical behavior, and talk about the different choices between profitability and wait a minute. I took a name. Okay, profitability or justice. So different people or different culture may think or choose certain actions in a different way. You talk about the cases in Japan and in Hong Kong or other country like Europe. And you also mentioned that in the European country is more proactive to juridical activism. So which is really good, especially in the context of climate change or environmental protection. So law related to that area has many things to do with European countries, which I really appreciate. And you talk about the issue about how to judge people and different concepts. And especially you talk about the top-down approach and bottom-up approach, like the market can drive some changes. So usually problem can not only be problem, but can also be a chance to make society change. So especially in today's society, which is a turning point to make a balance between environmental protection and the economic development. So I believe your expertise, especially in the area of law, plays a very important role in today's society. So maybe in the future, so we all can work together and do something like collaboration, like research or writing books or in any other format. And also Professor Mizushima said that your proposal about the new curriculum, which is really fantastic, and especially in the genre of fair society. So maybe there's something can be done between Chiba University and your university. That's the one point. And I would like to ask your experience. So I do agree with the point that ensuring equity is really important, which is also the concept of musician professors project. So ensuring fairness and equity, but sometimes there is a dilemma in reality. For example, for food security, so ensuring the minimum access to food is really important, which is the concept of equity and fairness. But sometimes, maybe that's my personal questions. So I'm not sure. So how do you define the actual fairness? I do agree with the fact that ensuring environment is good and ensuring people to all people, not only the rich, but also the poor, capable of access to the basic food and water, whatever, or healthcare service, whatever, which is really critically important. But in another way, so if people, in terms of the money, so you mentioned earlier in your presentation, if you have opportunity to make people make free decisions. So it turns out to be some people became rich and some people become poor. So I do agree if people have more money should help those poor in general to make a better society. But it's not necessary to me that so all services or all kind of the return should be equally provided, because in that sense, for example, like innovation, whatever, there's no incentive for those rich to work hard. So how do you balance the issue between those issues. That's kind of my dilemma, personal. So I just want your advice, how to think about this question.
Okay.
What you say that
It's
it's
reminding
reminding
me
me
of John
John
Rawls, distributive justice. How to ensure very fair distribution of wealth or chances of employment, chances to share social development. I believe there's no absolute justice because justice itself, what is justice? What is justice is in fact a very moral yardstick, very moralistic. When we talk about the legitimacy of government governance, we are using morality to say that you are legitimate to do that. In fact, in your mind, this is a matter of moralistic. You are moralistic, correct. But what you use that word, what is don't talk more is more morality. This is a long way to speak. This is the PowerPoint at the bottom. I personally, I think long way is not stable. It can be changed. I also recall animal rights, green politics. 30 years ago, the French Global Professor from Greenpeace. I think French government set a bomb, to the ship of Greenpeace, try to explode it. So you are annoying, you are disgusting. But Greenpeace, green politics is now a global. Everybody agrees. For example, animal rights in Hong Kong. If I torture a cat or a pet, a dog, police can arrest me and take me to court. But 30 years ago, you are thinking animal is animal, human beings is human beings. You have to take care of human beings, human rights first, Now your human rights is before you take care of animal. Now animal rights is no. This is why I said that, why WHILE, when something is integrated into mainstream culture, the legislative behavior, the judicial behavior will be changed. But at this time, especially Japan is very slow to react in comparison with other European countries, because European countries have a European Court of Human Rights. The ruling is fine, and we see many good court rulings. Well, Europe is not a single culture. Europe is multicultural, but it respects its culture. And you can say that they could work in harmony for social development, except the naughty boy Hungary. Personally, I believe fair society is 90 the first way, the correct way, because it is addressing to everybody. It is more individualistic, sometimes, even students may confuse. Well, you study human rights law is okay. They have a UN system. They have European system, American system, African system, very cultural, regional and cultural. But fair society is more individualistic. Everybody should share. Okay, everybody should share. I study international human rights law, but when I start reading fair society, I prefer fair society. Although fair society, it seems more abstract, but it is time, to revise, clarify. Okay, in case of no human rights court, what should we do? Okay, I read. Well, John Locke, social contract. But okay, I want to say it.
This is why story. This is Japanese style. Okay, don't say that Japanese judicial system does not traditionally have no equity. Story is the Japanese equity. Fairness is what justice really is. This is a Supreme Court judge, U.S. Supreme Court judge. He prefers fairness to justice. Fairness is more important than justice. Okay. This is the way, to promote fairness and equality. Education, I just mentioned, fairness studies may not be suitable for high school students, but very suitable for introduction to college students, university students, because they have to think and review during their 4-year study in university. They can integrate it into sociology, economics, psychology. Okay. Well-being. Well-being is bio-psychological and so forth. When I try to analyze judicial behavior with reference to freedom, I ask myself, what is freedom? Well, a lot of philosophers talk about freedom. Freedom is very abstract, but in fact, there are two interactions. One is my personal feeling. I am free, I'm not free. The other one is external, imposed on me. So the interaction, interior, exterior, psychologically, I am free. Just like when I love Thai culture. When I see the Buddhists in Thailand, well, it seems they are very poor, but their psychological well-being very rich. Okay, they walk along the street and ask for money. Okay, they are trying to sense their psychological well-being. Okay.
So I think
This is the last one. This is the last one.
Sure.
Okay.
What we want in case of contracting, Emmanuel Kai, Nicholas John Law. The fairness, the contracting process in fair society is a biosocial contract for harmonious, cooperative fair society. Okay, equality, freedom, well-being. This is for collective survival. Collective survival happily. But I'm not sure whether I am right or wrong. Fair society studies seldom mention right to life. Right to life is the most basic. Without right to life, we cannot enjoy anything. I don't know why, no book about fair society mentioned right to life. Because fair society, at least, this is for collective survival, equitable rather than sustainable. This is a long-term process. Sustainable, not only one day, because of social changes. So just like animal rights, just like green politics, okay? Justice in full, fair society, judicial behavior. This is what we want. Okay, justice in full, justice. This is not, it means high court judge. Okay, this is not a theory of justice, that justice. Justice again, because we call Supreme Court judge as Supreme Court justice. Okay, this is a fair society judicial behavior. Okay, how about today's welfare capitalism of Sweden and Denmark? Sometimes they call it welfare capitalism. Okay, sometimes they call it democratic constitutional. Well, welfare democratic president. Okay. So I believe Sweden and Denmark may be the model. They have a very good redistribution of wealth.
So we have 2 more questions from the participants online. So you might give the quick response to the questions. So next, I would like to invite Dr. Alfonso from Mexico to raise a question. Yes. So Dr. Alfonso, please raise your question.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Wong, for your interesting presentation and examples. I've been watching the news these days, like most of us, for sure, related to the protests against immigration policies in Los Angeles. And I must clarify, my expertise is not in laws at all. I don't. So examples were very useful. I reflected about the power that judges may have in situations like what is happening now in Los Angeles. And I thought, is there a way in which judges can take really quick decisions to ensure security? Like today, I read and watched the news that the California governor requested a new demand to block Trump's deployment of the National Guard and Marines in the protest against the immigration policies. But district judge allowed Trump's administration to give a response to the governor's demand days later. Is there a way like to block the presidential decisions that are very controversial?
Perhaps they're not
Okay. I have a very strong feeling that I saw I do not want to say it viral, because it reminds me of a seminar in Stanford in 2005. In that year, Arizona introduced a law. Whenever you go out, you have to carry your identity card or a driving license. I asked the speaker one question. I do not want to mention the name of the speaker. Why didn't California introduce the same system? The speaker told me he talked about it after the seminar. He talked about it during the coffee break. Okay. I did talk about it with the speaker. The speaker told me California needs illegal immigrants to work underground as cheap labor. When I saw the TV news, I saw a guy, moving the Mexican flag. In the NHK news today, this morning, it mentioned LA seldom check illegal immigrants. So this is why they got very angry. They knocked on your door to search people. This is again the spirit of common law. Common law is every home is your castle. Without court order, you cannot enter my home. Okay. Now they use National Guard, but according to Constitution, U.S. Constitution, when you deploy National Guard, you need the agreement of the governor of California. The other one is why the governor of California, they argue with Donald Trump. The GDP of California is a little bit lower than the GDP of Japan. I saw it today on NHK News. It was surprising. My feeling is that you want to have cheap labor. You want to have cheap labor. Now, the cheap labor contribute a lot to the economic growth of maybe California, maybe New York. A lot of illegal immigrants after 7 years or 10 years, usually they grant amnesty. So you come out, you have stay here, suffer enough for 10 years, I give you a green card. It was a past policy. You suffer enough now. It's something like a compensation. But Donald Trump is different. Just like the Honorable Professor spoke populism. Populism is addressing to group of people. Some lower class people want to have better well-being in the perspective of their society. Hey, those people, illegal immigrants, those countries, they treat us very unfairly. Okay. It seems this is, for the reputation of the personal charm, CHARM, of Donald Trump. The fair society stated very clearly, fair society should not have connection with personal charm. This is society. This is not relevant to religion. No, we respect religion, but fair society could not be dominated by one religion. Separation of religion from politics have been a development since 200 years ago. We should not have superstition in God's in religion's power. Even in Japan, KamBill is different. KamBill, in argument, separate. Back to
Dr. Alfonso.
I suppose Mexican.
Is there a way to block the President Trump's decision for
According to
US
U.S.
Constitution,
Constitution,
the governor, he is very open-minded, and I saw it on
and KamBill in this morning, a very open-minded person. This case will likely be a court case at the U.S. Supreme Court because this is a constitutional issue. He cannot bypass the governor. And the most horrible, Donald Trump said that he would like to deploy 700 Marine Corps, just the elite of American soldiers, to help in criminology. This is like escalation of crime. You use knife, I use light. You use gun, I mean, maybe in the very near future we could fall. And what made me angry is they were very impolite to news reporter. The check are very clear. News reporter for this people and what not do that.
Okay. Okay, so Dr. Alfonso, how about
Thank you very much.
the response from Dr. Wong?
Yes, yes, I need to process many things. Thank you. Yeah, that's very good.
Well,
Okay,
can I?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, and
I think another leading professors of research program, Professor Kobayashi is online right now. So yeah.
thank you very much for your very insightful presentation. I'm afraid I couldn't listen to your presentation because of another duty. So I only see your PowerPoint slides and would like to ask something about your presentation. I'm very interested in your idea of fair society, which consists of 4 dimensions, because I'm interested in not only fair and justice, but also well-being. So I wonder, your idea is your own original ideas, or you borrow this conception from some researchers? That's one question. And my second question is, I think that your fair society idea is quite related to justice, but also you suggested that in the field of justice, fairness is prior to justice. So can you explain how to relate your ideas of fair society with justice and fairness, especially fairness? That's right.
Just what inspired me to have this approach is when I studied international human rights law in North America. They also have a human rights court in but not as active as European Court of Human Rights, partly because of cultural issues. So it inspired me to conduct judicial research in order to see the possibility of using judicial activism in order to improve a society. But this is a cultural strategy. As I mentioned, it takes time. First of all, you have to improve the mainstream culture. You know, tomorrow's judge is today's student. Okay. Today's judge, when they were students, they have not studied fair society. But tomorrow's judge, when they have studied fair society, it may have impact on their ideology. This is the attitudinal model. It may be reflected in their judicial decision. Just like when I try to understand the background of Taishinin judges, surprisingly, I discovered their early education. Family is the most important institution, social institution for socialization. Nearly all of them were born in samurai families. Very, very surprising. You know, conduct and discipline, very traditional Japanese, very strict. The first female judge in Japan, it was a TV program about her. Okay. She has an international background. I tried to check her background because when I conduct judicial behavior research, I have to understand her socialization process. Her father was a banker in Singapore. Well, go back to your question. What inspired me to think about it is, in case of no human rights law court, what should we do? I borrowed the idea from John Rawls, from Humanities Constitution, because Constitution is the mother of all laws. Just like the Mexican professor asked me, what will follow next? It will likely be a constitutional court case. Okay, you American president used to not deploy National Guard and maybe Supreme Marine Corps to California without the order of, without consultation to the Californian government. Okay. The second question is, I forget his name. Professor, would you
All
repeat
right.
the second
It's
question?
all right, but a bit relation between your idea of well-being and justice offense.
Oh, okay. Well-being is a very subjective. Okay. It is wrong to associate materialism with well-being.
Right, I see.
How could judicial behavior ensure well-being? In Hong Kong, we have a slang said that, you know, I want to be the son of Lee Ka-shing, you know, the billionaire in Hong Kong. How can we ensure, you know, judicial behavior and well-being? Okay, well-being may be irrelevant to materialism. See Buddhism. Oh, I just mentioned the Buddhists in Thailand. This is a very subjective. See the movie, Kurosawa Akira. Okay, this is a very good movie, Ikiru. So, a civil servant, he got a lot of money after retirement, a lump sum, but he wanted to do something for his own well-being, to build a small playground for children in that area. What I learned from the experience of Sweden and Denmark is that they use a very good social welfare law for mutual trust. In Hong Kong, we always argue, you give money to Wong, why didn't you give money to me? But social trust is very important. We trust the government is fair to everybody. So you seldom see there's riot in Sweden and Denmark. They live very happily. Okay, this is a matter of trust, mutual trust in social welfare law. Okay, to ensure fairness, a sense of fairness to everybody, and a sense of fairness because through education, the opportunity for upward social movement, okay, to move upward in the social ladder.
Thank you.
Law is the most important instrument. Or if you trust the government, another efficient and effective way is government policy with social trust.
Thank you very much.
So okay, I think it's a time for closing our seminar meeting today. So thank you and every professor and participants also represent online, and we would like to be looking forward to different collaborative works in the future, maybe within out of our research program. So thank you again, everyone. So yeah, it's time to close up the meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
I
I
was
was very nervous.
because
This is my first time to have
Zoom.
Zoom.
I
I thought Zoom, but this is our first academic conference by Zoom. I am a small potato in academic circle. Thank you. I was very happy.